Welcome to the Buffalo Bouffalant Wooper Club League Season 12 Draft Analysis / Breakdown. I am Illogic. I am the coach of your Buffalo Bouffalant, and I am so excited for our first foray into Gen 9 Draft League. Gen 8 was relatively successful for us, including first place finishes in Seasons 4, 6, and 9, but each had its own gimmick. With the same finalists from each of the two previous seasons, and some losing stretches against other top coaches, it's tough to say for sure that the Bouffalant are the best team in the league right now, which is why I'm excited for the fresh start of Scarlet and Violet. That said, obviously things are not the same anymore as we say goodbye to Dynamax and hello to Terastallization, a mechanic that ended up being significantly more balanced than I'd anticipated. With everything being so new, we decided to forego tiers entirely this draft and keep the new mechanic, at least for now, as we figure out what is or is not worth keeping. We only had a couple of bans, the Box Legends, Fluttermane, Iron Bundle, and Dragapult, and a few mons off-limit from Terastallizing: Chien-Pao, Chi-Yu, Dragonite, Iron Valiant, Roaring Moon, Garchomp, and Palafin, along with a couple other specific bans: Last Respect, Shed Tail, a Beneficial Baton Pass, and the Lepaberry due to the new Revival Blessing. Otherwise, with no tiers, it's game on. The other significant note is that we have a total of 18 players this season, definitely the most we've ever had. With us wanting to try out all sorts of different mons, we voted to have 2 separate conferences of 9 teams each with 2 separate drafts. We'll play 9 weeks facing the other 8 teams plus a bye week, and then face off in playoffs to determine each conference's winner, and the winners of each face off in the finals. Our goal is always to win, but I would love to at least keep up the playoff streak first and foremost, and then get some W's in the playoffs, which would be great for morale here. It's going to be tough as always, especially because our breakout still lands us in the same conference as Chad, who has the most finals appearances by far, including back-to-back in seasons 10 and 11, and Michael, the winner of seasons 10 and 11, who beat us in the semis in season 11. The top 3 of us look pretty secure, but the order is obviously up for grabs, and there are 6 other teams looking for comeback seasons or to break onto the scene from successful seasons in the Beginners League, so let's take a closer look at the draft itself. First off, the Bouffalant are picking 8th out of 9. Not bad, honestly. I really like how close we are to back-to-back picks, though we are surrounded by our biggest competition, with the defending champion Route 1 Burbs at 7 and the perennial bridesmaid Seattle Steamrollers with the wheel pick at 9. Going into the draft, I did not expect to get any of the absolute best mons. Chien-Pao and Chi-Yu, I think, stand out well above the others. There are a couple other mons just below that level as well that I suspected wouldn't make it back to me. Mons like Roaring Moon, Iron Valiant, and Great Tusk, for example, I would still find it well worth to pick up first if available. I was a bit surprised to see Palafin go first, but for the comeback season, the Incineroar, it makes sense for him to go from 0 to hero. There were a few more surprises: an early Annihilate, Chien-Pao falling all the way to 7, but ultimately I felt I had 2 choices. There were some great mons that fell to me: Dragonite, Ting-Lu, Iron Treads. My decision came down to Garchomp or Goldango. I admit I was originally planning on Goldango, but I didn't expect Garchomp to make it down to me. I've already used Garchomp before and would love to use it with spikes and more experience under my belt, but I ultimately decided to go with Goldango for the first round pick. See if I can even spell here, yeah? That'd be a good start there. I noticed a severe lack of great steel types this gen, and even more so a dearth of amazing ghost types following our Fluttermane and Dragapult bans. In addition, there somehow aren't a lot of great special attackers this gen either, all of which Goldango fulfills, plus plenty more. I think it may be the best mon available to us here that can still Tera, which can power up the Make It Rain or Shadow Ball immensely, or provide stab to another coverage move like Focus Blast, or provide a whole different stab in Tera, or can help it move away from its already excellent typing to something else defensive depending on the situation. While I do not want to be constrained by Tera, I don't want to be forced to Tera the same mon every week. I could do worse with the options afforded to me by Goldango. There's so much more to love about this mon. Good as gold, the ability continues to surprise me by what it affects. I learned even Helping Hand doesn't work on it in doubles. Spore, Defog, Strength Sap, most anything that would affect Goldango that isn't an attack will fail, which is an amazing defensive tool to go with that stellar Steel Ghost type, in which I already love for my extensive use of Aegislash, and Deceptive, 87 HP, 95, 91 defenses. 84 speed is pretty decent too to go with offensive or defensive sets. In case that wasn't enough, 133 special attack will cleave through most anything, especially when it can be easily paired with Nasty Plot for that big boost in damage, especially considering how spammable Make It Rain is as a base 120 steel move that only reduces the special attack 1 stage after use. Shadow Ball is spammable as always. Power Gem and Focus Blast has coverage too. Otherwise, there's Recover to play the long game with this bulky beast. Charge Beam is cute. Hex to go with status spam. Psyshock for the mons whose stabs I'm already immune to. Light Screen Reflect could definitely come up. Dazzling Gleam is great coverage. T-Wave for more status. Trick, of course, is a great tool as I can force those tough switches easily. Thunderbolt, and of course Tera Blast. No Surf, strangely enough. You'd think so based on the sprite. Finally, I can see a wide variety of items being very usable. Choice Scarf, Choice Specs, Leftovers, Balloon, Shuckaberry, Colberberry. Very versatile, very strong, and fulfills unique roles on the team, and that's why I'm so excited to grab the Sea Behemoth as my first pick in the round. Okay, this other reason that I passed up Garchomp was that with the wheel pick with Chad, it was not guaranteed to take the Garchomp. I had a couple possibilities to pair with Goldango. My number one idea of synergy was hazard play here, as it is almost impossible to clear the field of hazards with Goldango around. Ting Lu, for example, would be able to resist Ghost and Dark moves coming for Goldango while setting up hazards extremely reliably. The real hope, however, was that Chad would be prioritizing a Steel type himself and grab that, which, in my opinion, the best Steel type left is Iron Treads, and does not want another Ground type to go with it so that I could get Garchomp. That's what happened. He went Dragonite and Iron Treads, which left Garchomp open for me to snag. I said it before, but I was very attracted to the hazard play Garchomp provides next to the immense power it got with a great type combination. 130 attack and 102 speed is a deadly combo, even without Scale Shot, as we can boost with Sword Stance or rock a choice item, and don't sneeze that 80 special attack, which can host some Dracos and such. Defenses of 108, 95, 85 is more than respectable too, especially when combined with rough skin on the physical side and the aforementioned hazard play of Stealth Rock and Spikes. Who says no to Spike's Stealth Rock Earthquake Dragon move every single week? We cannot Tera, but this is a solid typing nonetheless, with strong stab moves and plenty of resistances, including a fire resist for moves aimed at Goldango, plus an immunity to electric. We've got Crunch, Dragon Claw, Outrage, Dragon Tail, Brick Break, Poison Jab, Rock Slide, Liquidation, Flamethrower or Fire Blast, even a cheeky substitute maybe. We've got options galore. And you know how well we could use this guy here with a band, a scarf, assault vest in a pinch, a rocky helmet, a type resist berry, something like Roselia or Haban or Yachi, a lumberry, soft sand, leftovers, or anything else we can think of. With our first two picks, Goldango and Garchomp, it's GG. Two picks in the books though, where do we go from here? Remember, as the 8th pick, we had a long ways between every other pick. In this case, we were waiting from the number 11 pick to the number 26 pick. Obviously, plenty of great mons picked, but our priorities are still in sight. No snipes at this time, so we're clear for our next two picks to help out with a couple possible weaknesses. Although I'm not grabbing speed, we're getting another great fire resist for Goldango, as well as completing our fantasy core very early with what I think is a nice meta call, and it's actually on the screen here already. It is that Azumarill, another mon I've used in a different league before. Azumarill has several favorable traits I absolutely adore. Huge power is obviously the start with a booming attack stat, along with obvious move choices like Liquidation, Play Rough, and most importantly Aqua Jet, as well as of course the Belly Drum potential. Water Fairy is great offensive typing, water hitting fire types that are resisting the fairy, and otherwise they cover each other very well neutrally. Defensively, this is also one of the only ways I'm going to get through the offensive legendaries, Qianpao and Chiyu, and resist both their stabs, along with plenty of other very, very relevant moves from this gen. More great bulk too, 100 HP with 80s and defenses is very customizable. Goes great with items like Lumberry for burns, or Assault Vest as a special wall. Maybe even Thick Fat or Sipper set? Maybe in a pinch, but I'll obviously be looking at offensive set first and foremost. Bounce, Play Rough, Superpower, Trailblaze kind of cheeky, Fling, Brick Break, maybe a subset, Liquidation, Ice Spinner is a slight Ice Punch upgrade, minus the freeze chance, Aqua Jet, Belly Drum, and don't forget Terra Blast. The typing is great, but we have the possibility to get even stronger. I feel like Water is the most likely Terra type for power, but don't underestimate Fairy either, nor should you forget that the one thing I can't get past, maybe it'll be a Grass type or a Steel type, could suddenly get wrecked when I Terra Ice Spinner or Terra Fighting Superpower. Choice Band, Assault Vest, Lumberry, Mystic Water, Citrus Berry, Leftovers, Wackenberry, tons of options for something that seems at first glance straightforward. Glad to add it back. We're going to keep the priority train rolling. Garchomp was definitely a deviation from my plan, so I wanted to make sure I added a ground immunity and or resist sooner rather than later, as I think ground might be one of the better types this gen for those that have a good one, alongside other surprises like dark and fighting. I admittedly was all over Breloom during my planning phases, but then when I got to this pick, I hesitated a lot. Breloom has that strong priority Mach Punch, yes, and Spore, sure, but what else? It didn't have the bulk I was looking for, even if supplemented by Toxic Orb, it wasn't quite enough. Mach Punch is strong with Technician, but it felt a little bit one note. Spore has more answers than ever between Safety Goggles and Terra Grass. Then I found something else here. We've got another priority using a fighting type with a ground resist. It's our boy Slitherwing. Yeah, the bug fighting Paradoxmon has 135 attack and first impression. Oh, you need more. Oh, it's a ground resist, yes, with surprising bulk of 85 HP with 79 105 defenses, and access to moves like Will-O-Wisp, Bulk Up, and Morning Sun. 81 speed is okay. The first impressions priority, plus access to Flame Charge or Trailblaze, as well as being a great Scarf candidate, helps out tremendously. And the move pool. Ooh, first impression is plus priority for things like Chen Pao's Ice Shard or Palafin's Jet Punch. Stun Spore to bring things down to its speed tier. Leech Life is reliable. Bug Stab next to close combat for fighting. Morning Sun for recovery next to Leech Life or setup. Dual Wing Beat, which would be funny in the mirror or more likely just acrobatics, which goes well with an item we'll talk about later. Brick Break, Zen Headbutt, U-Turn for my first momentum user. Bulk Up to get that attack stat even higher. Will-O-Wisp for outstanding status. Heavy Slam, Wild Charge, Earthquake, Blare Blitz, Tera Blast, because I can tear into whatever. Wow, just wow, this is what blew me away for sure. Look at the versatility of moves and sets we can run on a bug fighting type, which has tons of Tera potential too, from Bug for stronger first impressions, to Flying for stab acrobatics, or Electric for stab Wild Charge and resist flying, or Fire for stab Flare Blitz and resist fire, or Fighting for strong close combats, or oh yeah, it's all coming up Millhouse now. Choice Band, Choice Scarf, Booster Energy to go with its ability Photosynthesis, and, again, Acrobatics Synergy. Heavy Duty Boots, Assault Vest, Silver Powder, Lumberry, so many options on a bug type. Also glad to have gotten a great fighting type too. Love, love, love this pickup. But the fun had to end at some point, as during the next wait here I finally got sniped. I was settled on my next pick being Screamtail to provide tons of bulk plus wish off a base 111 speed tier, but that was not destined to be. We'll look to see if we need to fill that role later. But for now, it's time to rearrange a bit. So my next pick here is going to be Talonflame, which was originally going to be my other pick on this wheel anyways, and being a ground immunity plus probably my high speed tier for the entire draft, plus my first hazard removal was something I wanted to ensure I got. 126 speed fixes the problem of Garchomp being my fastest, as even with plenty of priority, which I just added more of with Gale Wings, I do need to be careful to not overly rely on them. A ground immunity is nice, as Slytherin can't outspeed and burn all the ground types, especially not when it's not the most physically bulky off the rip. Defog as hazard control is crucial, even without any real Stealth Rock weaknesses. I know that spikes have gotten wider distribution, and with Goldengo on my side, I want to make sure I can win the hazard game. Finally, it's a decent fire type to pair with the water type, and we're on our way to another core here, even if my fire type does not add an ice resist for Garchomp, like Goldengo and Azu do. Talonflame's other stats do not scream impressive, 81-74 offenses, with 78-71-69 defenses, but with the right investment, it may just work. I don't need to use that speed all the time, so I can totally go for a max HP set often, or if I need to make sure I have that extra oomph, that speed stat may allow for me to go for some extra power. I could see me wanting to use Flame Body as well, switching this Mon in on some moves that can heal off, meaning we may go full Fizz Def, or maybe to complement the burns I'll actually go full Spadef. I can fire off Overheats from the special side while keeping my attack stat decent. Actually quite a bit of utility on this Mon here, aside from probably needing to run boots just about every time it comes with that typing. Still, Flare Blitz and Brave Birds are great stabs. Roost with the bulky sets, Tailwind support, apparently a lot better than I thought. Sunny Day is cute here to support its own fire moves, and Photosynthesis on Slitherwing, plus cheeky options like Thief or Fire Spin are neat. Bulk Up and Taunt are really neat setup and anti-setup moves that have a lot of applications on a very fast Mon like this. Sword Stance for more immediate offensive setup. U-Turn is crucial momentum. Will-O-Wisp, of course, for more burns, as Stas is becoming a very relevant part of the strategy now. Overheat or Heat Wave plus Hurricane for some special offense in a pinch, which shows that the more powerful moves that we have may overcome the low base stats that we have here too. And of course Tera Blast, which brings up another interesting point. Maybe Talonflame typing is great in some cases, ground immunity, fairy resist, etc. But maybe if it resisted Stealth Rock, it'd be an even better defogger. Terra types obviously include the stabs, but Terra Steel or Ground or Fighting for the Stealth Rock resist is kind of a cute option there too. Solid Mon, even without the best stats, but definitely a necessary option for the team. For my other wheel pick, I teetered all over the place on this one. What do I need? More speed? Screamtail was supposed to be here, so how am I filling the 126 to 102 speed gap? Is it okay to leave that there for now? A couple ones caught my eye, but I decided not to prioritize them at this time. Maybe some bulk? My planned Wish Passer is gone. Do I need to replace the bulk now, or do I need Wish at all? There are a lot of good Wish users left. Maybe not. What do I need to focus on? There was a Mon that caught my eye often in planning that I wasn't sure I was going to be able to fit in, and even though it doubled up on two types I already had, didn't add much of a weakness to anything and could take pressure off Garchomp to set up hazards. Gastrodon has impressed me before, and with hazards in its repertoire it finally gained a bit more versatility. Water ground typing is very impressive, only one weakness of grass, which is handled pretty well by my team thus far. It's a very different water type than Azumarill, and a very different ground type than Garchomp aside from the hazard game. The Gastrotalk has to start with its bulk 111 HP with 68-82 defenses, which can make it a veritable wall from either or both sides when combined with the superb defensive typing and recover. It did lose Scald, but gained Chilling Water potentially further help the physical wall game. The offenses are nothing to sneeze at either. If I was trying to sell you on Talonflame's offenses, surely Gaster's 83-92 offenses will surprise some folks. We've got Earth Power or Earthquake, Surf for power or Chilling Water as Scald at home, or Liquidation physically, Ancient Power or Rock Slide for rock offense. The biggest additions, by far though, to its move pool are Stealth Rock and Spikes, which we'll probably run one or the other of depending on the matchup every time it comes. Ice Beam, Sludge Bomb, we've got Recover of course, Acid Armor and Amnesia are cute, Clear Smog is actually really nice too, Counter and Curse are interesting options, Mirror Coat is a neat option, Memento probably isn't the way you want Gaster to go down, but it's there, and Yawn is really neat for forcing switches as well. Gaster with more utility than ever before also means you could aggressively tear away from the grass weakness, which seems to be the best use for it. You could Terastallize defensively into something like Steel, but also potentially Poison as well to still resist grass, as well as something like Fighting Coverage, and both those options make you immune to Toxic as well. Add in Storm Drain as Water Immunity, or Sticky Hold to resist the much less prevalent now Knockoff. You've got a bona fide Studley Wall. So we've got a mix of new and old. We've got 2 Mons I've used before, 2 old Mons I've never used, and 2 new Mons. It's good to look at this point, though, at your top 6 Mons you've drafted to get an idea as to where you're at. I don't know how good an idea it would be to compare this to my other drafts, as the availability is wonky and the removal of several key options is crucial as well. But I do note I'm lacking a little bit here in Momentum. Talonflame and Slitherwing are the ones that have U-Turn, as well as Knockoff, which I'm missing entirely thanks to it missing from Azu this gen. I'd look a little bit more for ground, and I have a net Ghost weakness, plus the ice matchup isn't the best, nor is Flying nor Fairy. My next pick will solve 2 of those problems, but exasperate the others, yet it's both a great resist to ground and ghost, and is very funny. It's Wo-Chien. Yeah, this is my grass type this time with special bulk out the wazoo, plus thanks to Tablet of Ruin, we've got plenty of physical bulk now too. 85 HP with 100 defense, 135 bulk not only ensures I'll probably be fully investing in HP every week to supplement the bulk alongside leftovers for recovery, but it makes for a ridiculous tank. Fully learned Recover. Still, really nice support for Ghost, Dark, and Ground type attacks aimed at Goldango, with only Fire being shared, but resisted by 4 members already. Grass Dark is notorious for mediocre at best defensive typing, but it does fulfill a few roles, and the bulk and move pool lends itself to a great defensive Tera candidate into something like Fairy or Steel, depending on the matchup. Offensively, it's no slouch either. We're getting a little bit higher with each Mon here. We're up to 85-95 stats now on offense, enough to supplement a couple of moves here. The move pool isn't as wide as I'd like, but it's still littered with enough impressive options. Another Stun Spore user is nice. Spite actually is a nice option I've looked at in the past to punish low power point moves, which now include things like Recover and Roost. And Mean Look is very interesting synergy with that, and one of the best moves it learns in Leech Seed. Dark Pulse and Foul Play are decent options for Dark, but the previously noted as limited at Knockoff is the king of its Dark options. The Ruination is also really nice too to keep them on low, especially to outstall defensive enemies. Power Whip, Leaf Storm, and Giga Drain are the main grass options, very strong, gives it a bit of offensive potential. Hex and Snarl are cute options too. Dual Screens are pretty decent on this as well. Taunt is great to punish stalling mons even more. Body Press too is a decent option if I'm investing in physical defense. Feels like we could suffer from 4 move slot syndrome here a bit, but I love all the options we've got. Definitely excited to play around with what I think could be an underrated defensive piece this gen. Show some live snail reactions down in the comments below for this one. Now, right before my Wo-Chien pick, I had settled on Magnezone for that slot, only for it to be sniped immediately before that. There goes my second Steel type, there goes my Electric type, a special attacker. Looking at what's left on the board, and looking at what I feel confident I can make work within what I need, I decided to go for a different Electric type that provides that extra utility as well as raw power still coming from that special side. Toxtricity still gives that big ground weakness I thought I just patched up, but is also another prime Tera candidate. The first thing I think of when I see Toxtricity in Gen 9 is Tera, Normal, Boom Burst, which just sounds nasty, but there's plenty more to look at. Offensive of 98-114 leads us to look at the special move pool, which is boosted mostly by Punk Rock, but the 98 physical offense is aided by Shift Gear access too, which we do need to look at and acknowledge. 75-70-70 defenses aren't great, but some investment in HP in a favorable matchup, potentially aided by Tera, can alleviate that tremendously. Poison in particular, though, gives me another good Fairy answer, with Electric taking down the flying types I was going to struggle with for a bit here too. 75 speed doesn't look phenomenal, but again, we've got Shift Gear access, as well as this being an easy Scarf candidate to spam 1 or 2 moves consistently. Move pool includes Nuzzle for even more paralysis. 100% accurate Toxic when this move has also been gutted for most move pools is a big plus. Another taunt user, always appreciated. Overdrive is boosted by Punk Rock, which makes it stronger than T-Bolt and goes through subs. Boom Burst also, mentioned as its strongest move Toxtricity will have and can gain stab through Tera. Shift Gear is basically agility plus Howl, meaning we could go without speed after a boost, still outspeed basically everything. Volt Switch, thank goodness we got Momentum Beast, huge. Acid Spray, Hex, and Snarl are all cute options. Stored Power, a little interesting. Brick Break for screens that always come. Fire Punch and Drain Punch for physical sets. And Toxic Spikes is a very interesting option I've always loved having access to, and may unexpectedly come a couple times as a very cool strategy. Plenty of item choices here too. Scarf and Specs works, as do Throat Spray, of course, potentially Assault Vest, Boots, Black Sludge, Air Balloon, even Silk Scarf is possible too. I feel as though Toxtricity's potential has not yet been realized in our league, so who better than the Bouffalant with access to Tera Normal to lead the way? We're starting to wrap up the draft a little bit here. I still have a few concerns that have cropped up as a result of having to stray from my original Screamtail plan. I worry about my overall bulk, as even though we have several decently tanky mons, my recovery is overall so-so, especially considering tankiness on the physical side, which seems to be a bit more prevalent this gen. I also have to worry about some of my speed tiers as well. I'm happy with my recent pickups. They have not fixed the 126 to 102 and 102 to 84 speed gaps. So while I'm happy, I just cannot use priority to fill those in. The latter of those is my biggest personal issue, along with probably a little bit more investment in the hazard game, including at least one more removal option. I assumed for most of the draft I'd end up going Espeon. I felt a little bit heavy on the physical offense side, and Magic Bounce with that speed stat seemed ideal. But something else fell into my lap at the same speed tier as that. Lycanroc-Dusk has a 110 speed stat as well, and lots of power. 117 attack backed up by Tough Claws, including more priority with Excel Rock and plenty of coverage, as well as Stealth Rock. This looked to be just the best mon available at this point, and if it also filled a very important speed tier, why would I not just grab it? It's a mon I've been intrigued with, but I've never really found a spot for until now, yet if I'm getting a little concerned with some of the fragility of my team, some of the sameness found with Lycanroc's role alongside of the priority users. Still though, Accelerock is a crown jewel, and the more variety I have with those priority moves, the better. And we've got Accelerock, Aqua Jet, First Impression, and Gale Wings boosted flying moves, which is really cool if I do say so myself. Along with that, we've got Sucker Punch and Lycanroc 2, as well as Rock Slide or Stone Edge, depending on how risky I'm feeling. Stealth Rock, Crunch, another fast taunt user, Fire and Thunder Fang, Dig, Brick Break, or Close Combat for that power. Psychic Fangs, Sword Stance is threatening for potential sweep with Excel Rock. Iron Head, Play Rough, Outrage, not a bad Terror Blast user depending on the needed coverage, or even the potential for an Endeavor set. Focus Sash would be the item with that. But we've also got options like Life Orb, Choice Band, Heartstone, or other boosting items. As far as Tera 2 boosting Rock's Excel Rock power is very reasonable, but getting Stab on something like Close Combat is super tempting too, and could allow Lycanroc to unexpectedly tank a hit it wouldn't otherwise. Again, it was the best mon available. I actually looked at it very seriously in the previous wheel, but ended up falling all the way to the end of the 9th, so I will gladly take this very strong good boy. Speaking of good boys, got an interesting back-to-back here. My last two priorities are to fill the 102 to 84 speed gap and another hazard remover. Tons of rapid spinners remain, including a couple I've kept my eye on all draft, but the 90 to 95 speed tier mons look incredibly barren at this point. I considered Lucario heavily here, a base 90 mon with another priority option at extreme speed, and mixed potential is tempting, but again, felt very samey with my last couple team members, not providing any help defensively. Instead, I could grab a physically defensive beast with a couple immunities and the last of the good wishers left. Daxbun has questionable use for some, but I love that big defense stat. Fire immunity, wish access, and speed tier. 57 HP with 115-80 defenses does ensure I'll probably go full HP every week, but if combined with full defense makes for a veritable tank on that end, especially considering it can wish itself up and hit back with strong body presses, but also means that has natural stats. If I do invest full HP, I can still go speed to make sure that that 95 speed stat matters. Add in a potential Tera to another defensive type, we got something brewing here. 80 attack's okay too, maybe limits be beyond play rough, but should be enough to make a dent when needed. And again, that 95 speed tier will be enough to force opponents to plan around that. Again, tough to go past Body Press, Play Rough, Wish, Protect, but a few other options include Crunch, Baton Pass to get that Wish off safely to something like Garchomp, Azumarill, even Wo-Chien, Elemental Fangs, Psychic Fangs, Stomping Tantrum, and Yawn, which you know I love. Tough to go beyond Leftovers as an item, but Boots, Resist Berries, even a Pinch Stat-Up Berry sounds like that might not be out of the question. And for Tera, it's tough to go beyond Steel for defensive prowess, because we do have that fire immunity, but it's also possible to convert the defense further into offense when using Tera Fighting Body Press. Daxbun is not something that comes every week, but when it comes, it will do its job, and it may not be as straightforward as you think. Okay, end of the draft, and with the penultimate pick, I wanted a good rapid spinner to take pressure off of Talonflame, and even if that's the only rock weakness in the whole team, I know spikes are more relevant than ever. Something else off the ground would have been ideal too, but c'est la vie. I also looked heavily at Fortress to fill this slot, as a mon that could spin, set up hazards, take advantage of well-baked body, as well as provide another physical tank, but no dice got picked up. Torkoal was possible too, more physical defense, another rocker, and some more special offense while powering up Slythering's fire coverage and through photosynthesis, but decided against that too. Finally, Tatsugiri was a consideration as another special attacker with a water immunity and decent speed, but the low move pool did it for me. In the end, I settled for the rapid spinner I had in my original draft plan, Cyclizar, who is still quite powerful and versatile despite the ban of Shedtail. 121 speed is great, and again takes pressure off of Talonflame from being the fastest or the only remover, and this is a really solid option for that, even if it provides another fairy weakness. 95-85 offenses aren't bad, and even if the defenses are lackluster, taking a hit can turn this into a small wall thanks to Regenerator giving it health back, turning 2 hit KOs into 3 hit KOs. The move pool is definitely where it shines though. Rapid Spin, of course, U-turn for one last piece of momentum, Dragon Claw for stab, Quick Attack for even more priority, Shift Gear is a cute setup option that's probably unneeded, Fire Your Fang, Wild Charge, Acrobatics, Ice Spinner, much needed ice coverage. We've got Thunderbolt, Draco Meteor, and Overheat on the special side there too. Body Slam, probably the best normal stab. Another fast taunt user, we know we love that. Iron Head, Crunch, Aqua Tail, another knockoff user is just huge. Power Whip, man, this thing has a ton of coverage options. Items include Boots here, of course, to spin hazards away a little bit more reliably and switch in often and regenerate it back up without that being chipped away. Could potentially go a choice item too for a little bit more power. The offenses are okay, but maybe not staggeringly good, so maybe choice item to help that. An Expert Belt if we'd like the move pool and want to lean into that. A Focus Sash even, or Protective Pads to stop that chip. Lots of cool options here. For Tera, we could be trying to give one of our coverage moves some stab. Maybe even Dragon to give Draco Meteor some extra oomph. Maybe even a defensive typing so we can switch in and out a little bit more reliably and lean into that Regenerator ability. Solid last pick with lots of speed, some great move choices. Very pleased with it. So there's the team in speed order. We've got Talonflame, Cyclizar, Lycanroc-Dusk, Garchomp, Dachsbun, Goldengo in the middle, Slitherwing, Toxtricity, Wo-Chien, Azumarill, and Gastrodon. A lot of priority here with Psychic and Ice being the only unrepresented typings. 2 removers in Talon and Cyclizar with 4 setters including Chomp, Gastro, Toxtricity, and Lycanroc. Talonflame, Cyclizar, Slitherwing, and Toxtricity provide offensive momentum, with Dachsbun as a momentum passer. Wo-Chien and Cyclizar with Knock, recovery on Talon, Cycle, Dex, Dango, Slither, Wo-Chien, and Gastro, and reasonable setup on Talon, Lycan, Chomp, Dango, Slither, Tox, and Azu. Ground immunity in Talon, Ghost with Cycle, Electric with Chomp and Gastro, Fire with Dex, Dragon with Dex and Azu, Fighting, Normal, and Poison with Dango, Psychic with Wo-Chien, and Water with Gastro. Good split of offense and defense, good split of physical versus special. This is the team, guys. I'm super excited to start off Season 9 strong. But there are a lot of really good teams out there, and I'm admittedly a little underprepared in this gen with all the new mechanics and mods, so we'll have our work cut out for us. If you're interested, check out the main Wooper Club League channel as well, where I, alongside the coaches of the Wobbuffets and Burbs, went over every team in both conferences, which should give you a good idea of who we're going to be facing this season and how the drafts went for each team. For us, it's 8 matches in 9 weeks in the Johto Conference, starting with Zach and the Summit County Psyducks. See ya!